Hi, this is Tom Stone, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to this class on the Freedom Practice Training. This is the second class of two, and glad you could join me. We'll be talking about the pure awareness techniques, particularly the in technique, the locate technique, and the quietness technique. And I do have a PowerPoint to share with you. Also keeps me on track, like my outline. So I'm going to shift over to the screen sharing and fire up the PowerPoint, and that way we can get started. Okay, so this is lesson 2 of the Freedom Practice Training, and this one is about the pure awareness techniques, in particular the in technique, the locate technique, and the quietness technique. There are 8 pure awareness techniques in all, and the 3 that we're going to cover, I've just mentioned: quietness, locate, and in. And this is a picture of the full 8 techniques. So we're going to be doing quietness, we can see on the upper left, and locate, and in. There are also wholeness, neutral, out, clarity, and knowing, which you'll learn at a later time. Out technique we're going to learn in the next lesson, lesson 3. So we'll start with the quietness technique. Quietness technique is a very simple form of, you could say, kind of like a guided meditation. And it's about being able to experience your essential nature, which is your own awareness. The quietness technique is the starting point for several of the other pure awareness techniques. It's the starting point for the locate technique, clarity technique, the knowing technique, and one called wholeness. The quietness technique is a process of just noticing the environment in which your thoughts occur. It's done by simply looking off to the side of your thoughts as they come into your mind and noticing the silent, empty background in which your thoughts occur. There's an analogy that can be useful here. Thoughts occur in the mind like clouds occur in the sky on a partly cloudy day. Here's a partly cloudy day, and you can see the clouds and you can see the sky, and the sky is there in the background. It's there all the time, no matter how many clouds are there or no matter how many clouds pass by. Similarly, thoughts occur in a background of silence. The thoughts are analogous to the clouds, and the background of silence is analogous to the sky. It's always there because it's our awareness. So the quietness technique, experiencing the background of silence, the way it works is you close your eyes and you take a few moments to notice your thoughts. In a moment, we'll try this and you can actually experience it. Then you'll look off to the side of the thoughts and simply notice the silent background in which the thoughts are occurring. Look off to the side of each thought as it occurs. That silence is your own awareness, the very awareness that you're using to experience the thoughts. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to just guide you through it very simply. So go ahead and sit comfortably and close your eyes. And what you'll notice with your eyes closed is that you can feel the sensation of you sitting in a chair or on a bed or on a couch or wherever you're sitting. You can feel the sensation of that. You may have some other physical sensations, and you'll also be able to hear sounds like the sound of my voice, obviously, but also perhaps other sounds in the environment. And the one other main thing that you'll experience as you sit quietly with your eyes closed is you'll have thoughts coming and going in your mind, plenty of thoughts. So we're going to take just a few moments and allow yourself to just notice thoughts coming and going. You don't need to do anything about them, just notice them. So by now, it's likely that you've had some number of thoughts, maybe a whole bunch, maybe just a few. But these thoughts come and go, kind of like the clouds in the sky. And we simply notice them as they come and go. And what we're going to do is we're going to start noticing the thoughts and then looking off to the side of the thought and noticing the silent, quiet, empty background in which the thoughts are occurring. So each time a new thought comes, look off to the side of that thought and notice that silent, quiet, empty background again. And you won't stay in that silence for a long time because other thoughts will come along. And that's perfectly fine. We're not trying to get rid of thoughts. We're just noticing the quiet environment in which the thoughts are occurring. It has to be quiet or we wouldn't be able to hear our thoughts. So thank goodness it is. So each time a new thought comes, look off to the side of the thought, kind of like looking off to the side of the cloud and seeing the sky. Here you look off to the side of the thought and you sense that quiet, empty, silent background in which all of your thoughts are occurring. So we don't do anything to or with the thoughts. We just allow them to come. They naturally come. We just notice them and then look off to the side to notice the kind of environment in which the thoughts are occurring, which is a kind of silent, peaceful, kind of vast emptiness in which thoughts occur. So you'll continue to hear sounds, feel your physical sensations, and particularly have thoughts coming and going. And each time you allow yourself to notice the quiet, silent, empty background in which the thoughts are occurring, that quality of the silence becomes a little bit more present in your awareness. Okay, that should be sufficient to have you get a feel for this. So, what was it like to go through this experience? What were the qualities of that silent background? Now, obviously, it's quiet. It's also very peaceful. And it has a kind of expansive quality to it. It's actually limitless. So were there any problems there? I don't think so. Any conflicts or doubts? I don't think so. The reason that there are no problems or doubts is because what's happening is your awareness is being aware of awareness. So normally we have three things going on. Normally we have you, which is the subjective experiencer, being aware of some object of experience, which is a thought. Even though a thought is kind of very subtle or abstract sometimes, then it's still an object of experience. It seems separate from you. You have the thought, and you have the process of experiencing the thought, all three of those things. But when you're experiencing pure awareness, by looking off to the side of the thought and noticing that silent, quiet, vast, expansive background, when you're doing that, your awareness is being aware of awareness. So instead of there being three things, is just one thing, which is awareness itself. How would you like to have this expansive, peaceful feeling always present in your life? Be nice, isn't it? So the next technique I'm going to show you is called the locate technique. And the locate technique is kind of like a GPS system. It's very useful for being able to find the energy fields of reactive and painful emotions when they're suppressed or hidden, which is very common. This is very helpful when it's difficult to get access to the sensation of the emotion by talking or thinking about it. The locate technique starts with the quietness technique. So you begin by noticing your thoughts, starting to look off to the side of the thoughts and noticing the quiet, silent background. And you do that for a while until you have a kind of good sense of the quietness. And then you tell your body to show you where the energy of the emotion is in your body that you're looking for. You can be specific and tell it to show you in technique energy or out technique energy, either one or both. The body will show you the sensation of the energy field. And once you can feel it, then you shift to the appropriate in or out technique energy. And when the energy is gone, you tell the body again to show you if there's any more of this specific pattern of energy held anywhere in your body. That's because sometimes we have what we call backup copies where the energy is stored in more than one place. So you tell the body to show you again until you tell the body to show you the energy and you get nothing each time you've told it to do that. To double check that you got it all, you can also use locate again after having accessed and resolved the energy. So you find the energy, you use in or out technique energy to resolve it, then you come back and you use locate again and you tell the body, okay, show me if there's any more of this anywhere. And this is because it's relatively frequent, relatively common to have what we call backup copies. Now, sometimes people say, oh, the energy moved from my chest into my throat or something like that. And the reality is probably that it didn't move, but that you resolved some energy that was stored in one place. And as that became less and less and even disappeared, then another place where you had the same pattern of energy stored sort of like raised its hand and say, hey, come over here. I need your attention over here. So this is what we call backup copies, and this is pretty common. If you tell the body to show you an energy of whatever it is that you're looking for, and you don't feel anything, tell it again. And if you don't get anything a second time, you can be pretty sure that you got it all. So next, we're going to talk about the in technique. Of the different pure awareness techniques, the in technique and the out technique are the two primary ones. They're the ones for resolving the most common disturbed, unresolved energies that we tend to hold in and around our body. And this is the first pure awareness technique that I discovered and used it to cure my PTSD after I got shot in the chest back in 1993. It's quite an experience. So the in technique, if you're not already feeling the sensation of the energy of that which you are using the locate technique to help you find, you can use the locate technique to find it. Then simply allow your awareness to notice the most intense part of the energy of the emotion. Just notice the strongest part of the energy field. It's usually right in the center of the sensation. When you do that, it will seem stronger than normal. Now, it's not actually stronger than normal. It's just that you're now allowing yourself to feel what's really there rather than just trying to suppress it. When it begins to become softer, get closer to whatever's left of it. Keep getting closer until the energy and the sensation of the energy is completely gone. Sometimes there are layers of feelings, one on top of another. If you feel down into the strongest part of the feeling until it's gone, but there's another feeling there, find the strongest part of the new sensation and feel down into that. This is the process of completing an experience that you couldn't complete in the past. Sometimes there can be several layers. Whether there are several layers or just one, when you feel your way down into the most intense part of the energy of the emotion, you will eventually find nothing, which is exactly what we want. So here's a series of slides that give a kind of graphic expression to the in technique. What you want to do is to notice the center of intensity. This allows you to notice the most intense part of the sensation of the energy of the emotion. And you focus right into the central part of it. Now, you don't concentrate on it. You don't try and make it go away. You don't try and do anything to it. You just simply notice it. And as you do that, it will gradually get softer. When it does get softer, get closer to it. Continue to get closer and closer until there's nothing left to feel. The way to resolve emotional pain and trauma is to know that what you are feeling is just the sensation of a pattern of energy that needs to be completed. All you do is simply notice the central, strongest part of it. You don't try to make it go away, and you don't try to do anything to it. You just simply notice it. Your awareness is limitless. So by just noticing it, you restart the process of completing the experience of it that you couldn't complete in the past. Let's do it now. It's easy, and I'll guide you through it. So the way to do this is you need something to be able to feel. And in order to do that, what I'd like you to do is take a moment and think about something that either recent past or could be even long time in the past, where you felt hurt by what occurred. And when you think about it, you still feel hurt by it. So take a few moments to think of something like that. Maybe you had a breakup of a relationship, or maybe someone close to you died and you feel loss from that, grieving from that, or could be anything. Something just happened that was hurtful. Somebody did something that was hurtful to you. And when you think about it, you can still feel the hurt. So the starting point of doing this technique is to identify some place in your body where you're still holding on to a kind of constricted tightness, a kind of knot or ball of energy held in your body somewhere. Very often these energies are held toward the center of the body. So you may feel it in your solar plexus, your heart, your belly, sometimes neck, head, can be anywhere, but very common to be held toward the center of your body. Now, once you feel it, notice that your long-term, deeply ingrained habit is to get as far away from this uncomfortable, tight feeling as you can. But we're not going to do that today. Today, we're going to do the exact opposite, and that is to simply allow yourself to notice the energy field and to notice that there is an energy field there where you're feeling the sensation, or you wouldn't be feeling anything. And that sensation is the residual, unresolved, disruptive energy of some emotion that you were not able to complete the experience of in the past. So now we're going to do the opposite of what we usually do. We usually avoid it like the plague, but instead, we're going to allow ourselves to just notice the central, strongest part of the energy. And if you allow yourself to do that, you'll notice that what you're feeling is just a sensation. And even though in the past it's felt really intense and you thought you couldn't handle it, the first thing you'll notice when you allow yourself to feel it is it doesn't kill you to do that. And in fact, it's just a sensation, especially if you're not thinking about the content of what happened. You just allow yourself to experience the sensation of the residual energy that's stored there. Now, when you first do this, it may seem like the energy is stronger than normal. Now, it's not actually stronger than normal. It's just that you're allowing yourself to, in fact, feel the energy of the emotion instead of avoiding it. And when you allow yourself to feel it, then that makes it feel stronger than normal just because you're allowing yourself to feel it instead of trying to get away from it. And as you continue to just kind of innocently feel and notice the central, strongest part of the energy, you don't try and make it go away. You don't try and do anything to it. You just simply allow yourself to just notice it. And the noticing is effortless, and you're not actually doing anything to that energy, you're just noticing it. Now notice that it's actually pretty easy, simple and easy. And when you just notice the energy and it gradually becomes softer, what you want to do is to get even closer to it. So this may take mustering up a little bit of courage because you're not used to doing that. You're used to going as far away from it as you can get. But when you allow yourself to get closer to it, it will seem stronger. It's a little bit like clicking in for a closer view on something like Google Maps or something like that. It's a kind of enlargement or amplification, but it's just because you're closer to it. It's not because it is, in fact, more intense. So when you do that and it feels more intense, you focus your attention right into the center of the strongest part of the sensation. It's usually right in the center of the energy field. And again, you don't concentrate on it. You don't try and make it go away or do anything to it. You just simply notice it. And because your awareness is limitless, it fills up the entire creation. It's extremely powerful. And this is why just allowing yourself to notice the residual energy that's held there, the process of completing the experience of that energy is kind of restarted. It's like you're picking up where you left off, could be even years ago that you left off. And you've been suppressing it all this time, avoiding it. So as you allow yourself to experience it, typically after a while, it will gradually soften and become less intense. So what you do is you click in closer, you could say, using the Google Maps analogy, and you magnify by getting your awareness closer to whatever's there. And again, after you wait for a while and just simply notice it for a while more, gradually it will soften some more. Sometimes it takes a while. You just have to kind of be patient because there's lots of energy there. That's okay. You just take it easy, allow yourself to notice it, and gradually it will soften. So keep going. Get closer. It'll seem stronger. Notice the central strongest part of the energy field. It'll gradually soften some more. And you just keep doing that, getting closer and closer to it. It softens more and more. Now, as you get near the end, and you may or may not be there yet, but as you get near the end of feeling it to completion, the experience can start to change. In fact, will start to change. It may start to feel like the energy is kind of dissolving or vaporizing or sort of breaking up and moving away. And eventually, people describe it as kind of like the fog burning off in the morning sun. Eventually, the energy gets completely resolved, just sort of vaporizes and moves away. And there's nothing left but the silence, the same silence that you experienced in the quietness technique. So when it's gone, when the energy's gone, you can just enjoy that kind of peaceful, vast, expansive silence for a little bit. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So as I mentioned in lesson 1, I discovered how to do this while searching for a way to cure PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, that I had after getting shot in the chest right at my front door back in 1993. The amazing thing was that I did find a cure for PTSD. Now, the medical and psychological professions basically think that PTSD is incurable. It'd be more honest of them to say that they don't know how to cure it, but they say that it's incurable simply because they don't know how to cure it. And that's not because it's incurable, it's because they don't know how to cure it. They especially don't think that PTSD can be cured by a layperson like myself, by himself, without psychological training or help from a professional. But I did it, and I haven't had a PTSD symptom in over 25 years. After I got the severity of all my PTSD symptoms down to 0, I started to teach what I had discovered to my friends, colleagues, and students. And they totally loved it. And they got great results with their clients and with themselves. I rapidly learned that you don't have to have severe trauma to benefit from learning and using this simple technique. I was very fortunate to discover it. It worked for getting rid of all kinds of disruptive emotions: anxiety, depression, anger, frustration, sadness, nightmares, heartbreak, grief, certain kinds of chronic pain, even fibromyalgia. I had one woman come in who was sent to me by a doctor from Kaiser Permanente, and she had fibromyalgia, which is pains all over the torso and back. And she came in and I helped her resolve a couple of those pains using the IN technique. And I sent her home with the assignment to do that a couple of times a day for about 20 minutes, and then come back in a couple of weeks. Well, she came back in a couple of weeks and she brought her husband with her, and he came in first into my office. And as he came in, he said, "What have you done with my wife?" And I, oh my gosh, what's up with this? And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And he said, "All her pain is gone." And she came in right after him and she said, "It's true. All the fibromyalgia pain is completely gone." So this was a wonderful, remarkable experience. And it taught me that things like fibromyalgia, and in fact, many forms of chronic pain, actually can, even though they may not have been emotional, or they may have been when they occurred, the solution was the IN technique, and it worked like a charm. As you saw in lesson 1 on the types of emotion chart, there are 2 kinds of energy. Each have their own technique. We have the in technique and the out technique. Here's the types of emotion chart again. So you can see on the lower left here, we have the painful internal kinds of emotions, which are trauma, emotional pain, heartbreak, resentment, grief, the list goes on and on. And as you can see on the little graphic to the right of the circle, there's a kind of red dot right in about the solar plexus region. This is one of these localized constricted energies that we hold in the body. And the technique that's used for resolving them is the in technique. The ones on the right, the larger circle, are what are called reactive emotions. And these have two
Tom, we can't see the actual, are you doing a screen share?
Yeah. Oh, I think I have to redo the screen share to get the right image. Yeah, sorry. How about now?
Yeah, I've seen it the first. Yeah.
Okay, good. So sorry about that. So on the left side, we have the painful internal traumatic energies, and they're like a tight knot or ball localized inside the body. And then on the right, we have what we call reactive or external emotional energies. And these have two subcategories. They have the upsets that we have when an expectation we have doesn't get met. You want something to happen in a certain way, your way. And when it doesn't happen the way you want, you can respond by getting angry, disappointed, frustrated, sad, depressed, or whatever. The other thing is to project possible negative outcomes onto the future. And this tends to create worry, fear, anxiety, panic attacks, things of that nature. This kind of energy is quite different. The energy radiates out from the body and creates a kind of cloud or aura of energy that surrounds and engulfs us, just like this image on the right. And we call this kind of pattern of energy out technique energy, and we use the out technique to resolve it. And we'll be learning the out technique in the next lesson. Based on most people's past experiences, things like nightmares and other PTSD symptoms have been difficult or seemingly impossible to solve. But here's an example of the effectiveness of our way of doing it.
My name's Angela. I was in a situation with a friend, a trusted friend, who actually attacked and raped me. And from that moment on, I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. I was a prisoner in my own home. I couldn't go out. I was really jumpy, full of anxiety. And it was a really horrendous time. And I just thought my life was over. And a few months down the line, I was introduced to a man called Tom Stone, who said he might be able to help me with my PTSD. Mainly my nightmares, which were so debilitating that no matter how great of a day that I had, or accomplished all the things that I wanted to do during the day, I would still go to bed at night and still wake up screaming, terrified, just reliving the experiences over and over again. So I met with Tom, and an hour and a half later, when the training was finished, that was that. And I that night I went to bed, not knowing what would happen next, expecting more of the same, but went to bed and woke up the next morning having not had a single nightmare. The second night I went to bed, slept through a storm, one of the most loud, apparently according to all my friends, a really loud thunderstorm that woke everybody up, and I slept through it. And then last night again, slept like a baby, had a great night's sleep, and today I've felt great and amazing and full of energy. So thank you, Tom.
So these second two nights, no nightmares again?
Nothing whatsoever. No, absolutely nothing.
Fantastic.
Great night's sleep. There's just no price you can put on that at all.
So there are two sections to this training. Section 1 includes lessons 1 and 2, and they're free. In this lesson 2, you will learn how to do the in technique. Most people think that resolving trauma is difficult or even impossible. But people who try the IN technique are blown away by how easy it is to resolve the old emotional pain that they have suffered from and been a victim of for years. Now, I'm just going to stop the screen share for a moment so I can have a little interaction with you. Yeah, the the PowerPoint said you're going to learn to do the IN technique, but we actually already practiced it. And what I want to do is to see how many of you had the experience of having an energy, being able to feel it with the IN technique in the way that I described. And when you were finished, the discomfort, the constricted feeling was actually gone. If you turn on your video and raise your hands, I'd like to see how many had that experience. Oh, wonderful. That's great. That's great. Yeah, excellent. Pretty much everybody. Great. So that's very good. So I'm going to go back to the screen share now. Yeah, I explained in lesson 1 that the reason our approach is much easier and more effective is because we focus on the energy instead of the content of the emotion. This is a major, major breakthrough in how to resolve trauma and emotional pain. With the IN technique, you learn how to thoroughly resolve the energy of unresolved emotional pain. And typically it only takes using the IN technique once or twice to get rid of things like nightmares, grief, heartbreak, basically just about any kind of emotional pain. And this is universal. It's not culturally dependent. It's also not age dependent. And I have another testimonial for you about getting rid of nightmares by an older woman in India.
Hello, my name is Vidya Singh. Recently, I was traveling with my husband and I met with a road accident. Actually, I got very minor injuries, but it was so traumatic that after I went to sleep, I used to get nightmares, and it was so scary that I couldn't sleep the whole night. I used to wake up and spend the whole night like this sitting idle. And then I came to know about the freedom practice. I started practicing it, and in 2 days, literally in 2 days, I got rid of nightmares. And now I'm having quite sound sleep. It's no more dramatic to me. I'm feeling quite comfortable. Yes, injuries are there. There will be very minor injuries, but they are physical and they will get healed automatically. But what benefit I got from freedom practice, that I got rid of nightmares, which was really bothering me. I couldn't sleep the whole night because of the nightmares. I'm so thankful to Tom. I'm really very, very thankful to Tom.
So section 2 of the training and several specific applications of using the pure awareness techniques are available to purchase after this video. Specific applications are going to include how detailed description of exactly what to do to use the pure awareness techniques to get rid of things like anxiety, panic attacks, depression, anger, frustration, sadness, grief, trauma, heartbreak, nightmares, the fear of rejection, and the fear of public speaking. Now, you'll notice that we've had 3 different testimonials about nightmares. And one of the reasons for that is that typically people, when they have nightmares, they don't know what to do to get rid of them. And they can have them for actually literally for years. And so this doesn't mean that the other emotions that we're talking about here don't also get resolved by the IN technique or the OUT technique. And you're going to learn something called muscle testing to be able to determine which technique to use. Section 2, is it worth it? What will you learn in section 2? From physics, we know that every subatomic particle of matter is actually a pattern of vibrating energy. That means that everything in creation is a pattern of vibrating energy. There is no matter. Physical matter is an illusion. It's only the limitations of our senses that give us the illusion of physicality. Human senses are wonderful, but they can't see the tiny vibrating energy patterns that create the subatomic waves that appear to be particles of matter. Ancient Vedic knowledge takes it a step further and says that everything in creation is a pattern of vibrating awareness. It says that pure awareness can be experienced smaller than the smallest and bigger than the biggest. The in technique is a way to experience things that are smaller than the smallest. The out technique is a way to experience things that are bigger than the biggest. At the end of each technique, when the energy is gone, all that is left is pure awareness. And that's why the techniques are called the pure awareness techniques. Lesson 3. In lesson 3, you will learn how to experience pure awareness using the out technique. Lesson 4 will be about muscle testing. I learned muscle testing in 1993, just before I got shot. It is probably one of the most useful things I've learned in my whole life. It pulls you out of your mind and into your body and gives you access to the experiential, intuitive knowing that exists in your body. Practicing muscle testing regularly rapidly improves your intuition. 6 months from now, you won't believe how much more intuitive you will have become. In addition, being able to do self-muscle testing allows you to coach yourself. You can't do that with traditional coaching or therapy. The freedom practice is a powerful and fast way to give yourself a highly effective coaching session. In lesson 5, you will use the pure awareness techniques to make
I have a quick question.
Yeah, sure.
Can you say a little bit more why, how the muscle testing does help with that, just compared to not using it?
Sure. When you muscle test, you're bringing something from what's called the subtle senses up to the level of the gross senses. In other words, you're sensing something intuitively, and when you do the muscle test is giving you a physical expression of whether you're congruent with that thing or you have some discrepancy with that thing. So when you do that, you're allowing yourself to confirm through your body's experiential wisdom that you're either aligned with something or not. And as you do that, you become more and more and more sensitized to simply knowing when something is in alignment or not. You just become used to that. Even without the muscle test, you become increasingly sensitized to that. So this is a process of integrating these subtle senses of sensing something just in your consciousness, and then bringing this sort of out of the mind down into the body, where you sort of really substantiate the experience of what you experienced in the subtle way in your consciousness. And that connection becomes stronger and stronger and stronger as you do it. And this cultivates what we call intuition. Does it make sense?
Thanks.
You got it. Okay. So in lesson 5, we use the pure awareness techniques to make the muscle testing reliable. And the way we do that is we use the pure awareness techniques to get rid of the fear of being emotionally overwhelmed, to get rid of the fear of uncertainty, and to get rid of the fear of punishment. Now, the reason we get rid of the fear of punishment is that when we're little and we're just innocently kind of exploring our world, and we do something that we don't know is considered to be wrong by our parents. So let's say your mom's in the bathroom for longer than usual, and her purse is there, and you're searching through her purse, and you find a lipstick. Okay? And right then the family dog comes up. So you take the lipstick and you put it all over the face of the family dog. The family dog goes off and spreads the lipstick all over the furniture. And your mom comes out and she's all upset because you've ruined her lipstick and you've gotten the lipstick all over the furniture and the dog. So you get punished. Now, it doesn't take very many punishments for this poor, innocent little kid to have the experience of being emotionally overwhelmed by the punishment and to start fearing punishment when you have an intuitive or a creative impulse. So you get a creative idea or an intuitive idea, and you go to act on that idea, and right afterwards, there's a fear of punishment. Now, pretty much everybody grows up in an environment where this happens to you. And there tends to be a lingering presence of the trauma from being punished that goes on throughout your life. If you never deal with it, it's still there. But if what we do is we specifically go and find the energy of that trauma from the punishment, resolve it with the in technique, and when it's gone, then you have the intuition, and the fear is either a lot less or completely gone. But you don't just automatically go with the fear, you go more and more with trusting your intuition. The fear of uncertainty, fear of being overwhelmed, these are additional fears that we get rid of in the 5th webinar. So eliminating these fears will remove key barriers to being true to yourself. And this will strengthen your intuition even more. And it'll make your muscle testing reliable. So in lesson 6, you'll have all the basics for being able to begin to do the freedom practice. And that's exactly what we'll do, is we'll do it, and then we'll have a debriefing afterwards so we can discuss what happened. And then you'll start to be able to do the freedom practice every day. This is the fast track to genuine spiritual awakening. And I say spiritual awakening because what spiritual awakening really is, it's about living with the presence of that expansive state of pure awareness, just being there all the time. There's nothing about, angels singing and blowing trumpets and dancing around. It's just experiencing pure awareness all the time. So every day, you'll be cleaning up your inner emotional landscape. Over the years, I've discovered that having a backlog of unresolved disruptive emotions is the only thing that keeps you from experiencing pure awareness all the time. The only thing. I've had a great good fortune to know exactly how to remove these barriers and to start living in pure awareness all the time, quickly and efficiently. Now, everybody has a pretty substantial backlog of both in and out technique energies. So there's some deep spring cleaning to do, and it does take a while, but every time you clear up an in or out technique energy, you have one less of them there. It's not an infinite number of them, it's a finite number. And as you clean it up more and more, you begin to function from that intuitive knowing place increasingly more and more. People think that true personal development or true spiritual development is a long and difficult process. But the freedom practice changes all of that. It provides what's been missing in the power of now. What's been missing is the power of how. What's been needed is to understand the mechanics of how this stuff really works, and that we do have these collections of unresolved disruptive emotions held in our bodies, and it's necessary to be able to find them, make them conscious, and then resolve them through using the in and out techniques. And the freedom practice provides that. The normal price of the freedom practice is only $300. But by watching this video, you earned a special 50% discount. It's going to be only $150. You'll also get access to links to purchase the applications of the freedom practice to upgrade many different areas of your life, as mentioned earlier. People who take the freedom practice start to rapidly remove the barriers to living in the continuous experience of wholeness. They consistently say that this is what they've been looking for all their life. The ability to consistently determine that there is residual emotional energy at the root of a given thought can be greatly enhanced with muscle testing. What is muscle testing? you'll learn how to do muscle testing in lesson 4. Because muscle testing pulls you out of your mind and into your body, as I was explaining before. It gives you access to your body's experiential wisdom. We have only one rule in this work: muscle test everything. And that's because we want that intuitive connection to our experiential knowing that comes from accessing the body's wisdom. We want that to guide every decision, every action that we take. So in preparation for the freedom practice, you will get what's called a personal decision influences assessment, or DIA. The DIA, here's an example of one. And I just changed the name to protect the innocent, Jane Doe. So you'll notice on the left, it says decisions are influenced by, and then we have the 4 kinds of thoughts: practical thoughts, intuitive thoughts, ego-based thoughts, and emotional pain-based thoughts. And you'll see in the column to the right of that, the optimal state is when practical thoughts are influencing our decisions 100%, intuitive thoughts also 100%, ego-based thoughts not influencing our decisions at all, and emotional pain-based thoughts also not influencing our decisions at all. Now, back on May 28th, 2018, this person, who's not Jane Doe, was somebody else's name, but they had practical thoughts at 88. Now, this is very common to be in the high 80s or even 90s. This is very common because everyone has practical thoughts. They have no emotional charge to them. They're just things like shopping lists, directions to get somewhere, something like that. So those are typically devoid of any kind of emotional charge. Now, intuitive thoughts, you'll notice this is only 16. And this is fairly common on people's initial decision influences assessment, for the intuition to be down in the teens or low 20s. And the reason for this is the next 2. The next 2 are ego-based thoughts at 57, emotional pain-based thoughts at 48. These are the numbers caused by the accumulation of lots and lots of out-technique energies, lots and lots of in-technique energies that have not been resolved because of the habit of suppressing them and then keeping them suppressed, trying to not have to deal with them at all. So when you get your initial DIA, which you'll get when you sign up for section 2 of this training, you'll get your own overview, your own top-level view of what your inner emotional landscape looks like. You're going to be added to a discussion group, and you'll join the discussion group for this class. And this is where you'll be posting what are called your freedom practice reports. And it's where your mentor will give you guidance as needed. You'll also see everyone else's freedom practice reports and the guidance from the reviews of the freedom practice reports for everyone. It's important to do this daily. And at some point in the day, each day, you'll prepare a freedom practice report. And this is a simple report of what you did during your freedom practice on that day. It can be quite short. Here's an example of doing it during the first phase of doing the freedom practice, which is where you do it on your own at home for 20, 30 minutes, just typically early in the morning. Here's an example. I tested that one of the thoughts was an ego-based thought that needed the out technique, which I did and resolved the energy. Then I had 2 thoughts that tested as being emotional pain-based and resolved them both with locate and the in technique. So here again are the 8 pure awareness techniques. And in this class, we're learning quietness, locate, and in, just as a review. I want to thank you for joining me for the class. And when I mentioned in the PowerPoint about being able to register with the links on the page, that's because this recording is going to go on a page like that. Here we have a question. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi there. So we have a question about what to do about thoughts of self-harm. And thank you.
So thoughts of self-harm are, self-harm is a form of addiction, actually. And the reason for that is that people tend to use self-harm because the pain that comes from the self-harm sort of overrides the pain that the person is feeling and not wanting to feel. So in a sense, it's almost like a form of, strangely enough, a kind of self-medication. I mean, we take medicines and we do things to, take drugs of various kinds or do various different activities to avoid feeling things. And this is the essence of what addiction is made of. Addiction is essentially doing things to attempt to self-medicate. And strangely enough, self-harm is a weird form of that. It's a form of being able to distract yourself from something else that you don't want to feel. Does it make sense? Yeah. So the way to stop it is to allow yourself to feel that which you're avoiding feeling and to use the appropriate pure awareness technique to resolve it. When it's resolved, there's no need to do the self-harm because there's no need to self-medicate. And you also won't shift to a different addiction, I mean, this is one of the problems with the whole field of addiction recovery is that people go cold turkey on one addiction, and they just gravitate to another one. They just pick up something else to self-medicate with, because if you don't resolve the underlying problem, which is the residual trauma from whatever happened, if you don't resolve the trauma, you're going to keep finding things to help you try to self-medicate and avoid it. And this is kind of the essence of understanding of addiction. Our addiction recovery program has 3 steps to it. We first muscle test and find how many deep-seated traumas are causing the feeling of the need to self-medicate. Then we go find them and resolve them. Okay? Then if it's a substance addiction, we have a device called the Quantum Energy Optimizer. We put the substance in the device, and the device inverts the energy of that substance. Let's say it's like nicotine, like a person wants to stop smoking. I've helped a lot of people do this. We put that in the input of the device, and we invert the energy and amplify it and send that to the body. And the energy of the addictive substance gets weakened. And so the tendency to succumb to it and go for the addictive substance becomes much, much less. I did a small little study on doing this for people who were wanting to stop smoking. And the contrast between not doing it and having the symptoms of withdrawal symptoms when they stop smoking really high versus canceling out the energy of the nicotine and having the symptoms like almost flatlined, it was remarkable. And people just, I had asked them, how are your withdrawal symptoms? And most of them would say, what withdrawal symptoms? So it's going to be a very powerful addition. And the third step is to learn the freedom practice so that you can be good at finding and resolving these energies so they don't accumulate and cause you to go back and relapse. Very effective addiction recovery. Good question. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good. Anyone else? Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to stop the recording now.